Welcome to the Willow City Council regular meeting of June 23rd, 2026. Shall we stand and salute our flag?
We just stand.
Thank you. I've always enjoyed hearing that in a robust way. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hudson, absent. Vice Mayor Thomas,
Here.
Councilmember Hanson,
Here.
Councilmember Pride, here. Councilmember Busby.
Here.
Thank you.
Changes to the agenda. Marty?
Yes, there are changes to the agenda this evening. Item number 8A, amended chapter 2.70, Library of the Willows Municipal Code, has been continued to the July 14th council meeting. And item 8B, contract for private security, will be moved up to immediately follow the consent calendar, making it item 7A now. And then we'll go back to the regular scheduled agenda.
Thank you. Ceremonial, we have two proclamations today. The first one, National Family Owned and Operated Business Day. So the City of Willows proclamation, whereas family owned and operated businesses are the backbone of the American economy, representing the strength, perseverance, and entrepreneurial spirit that defined our communities. And whereas the City of Willows is proud to be home to many family owned enterprises that have served our residents and visitors with dedication, integrity, and passion across generations. And whereas family businesses not only provide essential goods, services, and jobs, but also enrich the social and cultural fabric of our community through long-standing relationships, civic involvement, and local leadership. Whereas these businesses often pass on more than just ownership, they pass down values, traditions, and deep commitment to service and quality that have stood the test of time. And whereas it is fitting to recognize and celebrate the contributions of family-owned and operated businesses that continue to shape the identity and prosperity of Willows. And whereas the Willows Chamber of Commerce has been a steadfast supporter of local businesses, owners advocating their success and honoring their vital role in the community. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Richard Thomas, Vice Mayor of the City of Willows, and on behalf of the Willows City Council and the entire citizens of Willows, I do hereby proclaim June 23rd, 2026 as National Family Owned and Operated Business Days in the City of Willows, and I encourage all residents and visitors to support, celebrate, and express gratitude to the family-run businesses that continue to help our community and economy and community thrive. In witness whereof I have hereto set my hand as official seal this 23rd day of June, 2026. And here to receive this, we have Jessica Tapia from Chamber of Commerce. And as a side note, as a small business owner myself, before I retired and sold the business, I appreciated the local loyalties that I received, people coming to the my business. So.
As Jessica's coming up to get that, we can't say it often enough, but the work that she and her husband do with the Willows Wonderland nonprofit, taking on the chamber, just a lot of energy that they're bringing back into the community. So a lot of credit and kudos to the chamber and the Tapias.
We have a second proclamation, National Food Truck Day. Mr. Councilman Hanson will read this one for us.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Thomas. City of Willows proclamation, National Food Truck Day. Whereas food trucks have become a vibrant and essential part of the local culinary scene, offering diverse, innovative, and accessible dining options that reflect the cultural richness of our community. And whereas food trucks enhance the sense of community by bringing people together in public spaces, supporting local events, and creating lively, welcoming environments that enrich the social and cultural fabric of our city. And whereas Food truck operators are small business owners, entrepreneurs, and culinary artists who contribute to the economic vitality of our city by creating jobs, supporting local agriculture, and energizing public spaces. And whereas National Food Truck Day is a time to recognize the hard work, creativity, and resilience of food truck vendors and to celebrate their role in bringing people together through shared meals and community gatherings. And whereas cities across the country, including the City of Willows, benefit from the presence of food trucks at events, parks, business districts, and neighborhoods, enhancing local flavor and fostering a spirit of innovation. And whereas supporting food trucks aligns with the city's goal of encouraging small business growth, promoting economic development, and increasing access to diverse food options. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Gary Hansen, council member, on behalf of Vice Mayor Thomas, the Willows City Council, and the citizens of Willows, do hereby proclaim June 26, 2026 as National Food Truck Day in the City of Willows and encourage all residents to support our local food trucks and the hardworking individuals behind them. In witness whereof, Vice Mayor Thomas is hereunto set his hand and official seal this 26th day of June 2026. And Jessica Tepe, you get to come up again. Just like to note, yeah, thank you very much, all of our small business owners, for what you do day in and day out. And food trucks are small business owners, as we all know, and we've got 3 fine food truck operations here in the city. So, so happy they're here. So, Jessica.
Okay, item 6 on the agenda, public comment and consent calendar forum. All items on the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved by a single vote unless removed for separate discussion by the council or city manager. Individuals wishing to speak on consent items or matters not on the agenda are asked to complete a speaker's card and submit it to the city clerk. All remarks shall be directed to the mayor and the council members and are limited to 3 minutes. By law, the council cannot discuss or take action on any items not listed on the posted agenda. Do we have any public comment on items not on tonight's agenda? Hearing none, we have item 6A, register approval. 6B, minutes approval. 6C, fiscal year 2026-2027 appropriations limit. Adopt a resolution XX 2026 establishing that fiscal year 2026-27 appropriations limit for the city of Willows. Item 6D, November 26th general municipal election. Recommend action, adopt a resolution calling for and giving special notice to the general municipal election be consolidated with state general election to be held on Tuesday, November 3rd, for the election of 2 city council members, requesting the county of Glen approve said consolidation.
So Vice Mayor Thomas, before I consider bringing a motion on that item, the calendar or the agenda change, one moment, Jim. The agenda change I wasn't aware was going to happen. And I know a lot of folks came for the library. And so I just would like to ask, is there a reason that we're postponing that to July 14th?
It was requested by a couple of council members, since we have a pretty packed agenda. And
So we put the agenda out, got a lot of our community to come forward that had a voice to express on this item. And we decided our agenda was too full.
it was a request by a council member, Councilmember Pride.
So one council member can change that. I don't support that. I think that, we put something out there. The community, I'm just looking around and I know several of you came out tonight to talk about the library and express your opinions on that. So I just wanted to say that. I'm sorry that you came and we're not talking about it. Did you have something to say for that's not on the agenda? The clerk. Thank you.
Councilmember Pride, I can possibly answer your question for you.
I think for everyone, yes.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Mayor Hudson was unable to be here tonight. It was advised just yesterday. And Mayor Hudson is a former library liaison, a former liaison to the library trustee board. And I thought that it would be extremely important if he were here to have that discussion in front with the full council. It is a serious issue to discuss. It's important business, and it's only right to have a full council here. And since Mayor Hudson is intimately familiar with library operations, I feel it very important for him to be here. So I contacted the city manager with just my thoughts on that, and that's where we're at. And she conferred with the vice mayor. I think it's very important that all five of us, have discussion on that topic.
Well, and I don't disagree that that is important, but if someone's absent at the next meeting, are we going to postpone it again? We're all equally important, whether we're on the library or been a liaison. I've attended, Matt's attended. If one of us can't attend, are we going to continue to change our agendas because a council member can't attend? We can't expect to always be here for every
Of
meeting.
course, I mean,
But the business of the community, I feel, should continue. I apologize, I didn't say that in real time. It took me aback, but I felt it was important to say. There's 4 of us here. If 2 of us think that that should be postponed, then I would defer to the direction or the consensus of staff that you talked to.
Councilmember Hanson shared that with me, and based on my understanding, I thought it would be appropriate that the Mayor Hudson may actually be here as well.
Well, again, I apologize to those of you who spent the time to come out tonight and to write letters and take your time and to have this continued. I appreciate you taking the time to come out tonight.
So we have the consent calendar. Anybody have any comments on the consent calendar from the public? Hearing none, pleasure of the council.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
A motion to approve the consent calendar is presented. I have a second.
Yeah, I'll second.
I have a second for that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. With the changes of the agenda, we'll move to 7A, which used to be 8B, contract for private security. Recommended action: authorize the city manager to execute contracts with NASTEC Armed Private Security Patrol and Kodiak Consulting Group for patrol services and drone response effective July 1, 2026, and a total amount of not to exceed $26,000 per month for a minimum of 90 days with provisions to extend the contract as needed. Before I turn it over to Marty Brown for that, I'd like to make a point based on some of the social media comments that I have read. Myself and the city council, along with the city manager and the city attorney, have a main priority to provide law enforcement services protection for the people of Willows. We have been here before where the sheriff holds the line and says this is what it will cost to the city with no movement on his part. In 2023, he had declared October 16th as the drop dead date for police services. We had to pay what he was asking for. We were then successful in negotiating a little bit better deal for the next 6 months. For those who believe we're wasting money, the new proposal from the sheriff is $3.4 million. Our review shows us that there is easily over $500,000 in charges that the city shouldn't be paying. One such charge is the unfunded pension liability where retired individuals receive retirement. The sheriff has served Willows for only 9 years. The retirees receiving this benefit did not work for the city. We have initiated a mediation under the existing contract. Hearing you and believing ourselves that we are not getting what we are expected and what we're paying for, We have filed a writ with the courts to seek an order requiring the sheriff to continue his coverage while we work through our differences. Because of the legal moves we have initiated, we have been unable to share everything that we are doing. So now, on the subject of private security for tonight's agenda, the council for months has been talking about options for police services to the city of Willows. One of those was private security. We actually had this conversation back in 2023 as well. That's one of those options. So the council had instructed Marty to research what that may look like and its cost. That is why it's on tonight's agenda for discussion. So with that, Marty Brown.
Thank you, Vice Mayor and council members. The item that's before you is for contracting for private security. As the Vice Mayor just stated at the June 9th City Council meeting, I was directed to investigate the possibility of private security options in light of the upcoming pending end to our law enforcement services contract with the Glenn County Sheriff's Office, which is June 30th, 2026. And so I did that in the last couple of weeks, and this was the proposal that I was able to bring forward to the council. I want to say up front, this has never been intended to be some silver bullet. It's not intended to be a long-term solution. It was merely intended, and I think the council, correct me if I'm wrong, was the intention of the council to look at a short-term solution as we continue to try to negotiate for law enforcement service contract or some other type of sworn officer arrangement. Again, it is intended only as a short-term benefit to the city in terms of a deterrent for criminal activity in the city as the contract is expiring basically a week from today. So, and as I will also say that the city is in mediation and we continue on that path, but we so far don't have a resolution. And it's also public knowledge that the city has filed a writ in court that will be coming forward in July 8th for consideration by the Glenn County Superior Court for injunction to consider continuing to provide services beyond the June 30th deadline. So with that, I'll just dive into the proposal. The proposal is for one supervisor and 2 armed guards. All 3 of them would be armed, 3 vehicles on shift for 2 12-hour shifts. The first initial contract is proposed for 90 days and giving us and the city some time and the staff some time, like I said, to continue negotiations and try to figure out a longer term solution. In addition, there's a recommendation for a drone program as well, using a drone program to also bring in as a deterrent. There are some other things listed in the other things that the city could do working with the consultant to deter crime, in addition to illuminating the level of street lighting and reducing vehicle access at night in certain points, especially in the downtown and the commercial areas, working with the public and developing neighborhood watch groups as well as citizen patrol program. Those are just a couple of things that could also be done in addition with working with the consultants that are part of this proposal that's before you. Again, the initial contract proposal is for 90 days. It's at a price of $260,000 per month. That pretty much concludes my presentation. I just do want to say that both consulting firms, Kodai Consulting Group, as well as NASTAC, which would be providing armed security, they are both on the Zoom call today. There are 3 members from both groups that are available to answer any questions and or offer additional background or information on the proposal if the council is so inclined. That concludes my presentation, unless you have some other questions for me.
Pleasure of the council. Do you want to hear from the quantity of visitors to our chambers tonight first?
Absolutely.
So
Okay.
it's a pleasure to see the volume of folks here. So anybody who's ready? Oh,
I have a first speaker is Julia Storrs.
Hello, my name is Julia Stores. I've written this about 4 or 5 times in the past 2 days, and every time I've read it to someone, there was always a don't say that or don't write this. So I apologize if I get a little emotional while reading this because this is very important to me. So I'm going to tell you what I do know. I always saw Willows more like a friend than just a town. Willows has saved me so many times. Willows not only saved me, but my grandma as well. She's alive today because of Willows. I've met amazing police officers that wanted to teach me criminal justice, which I loved. I remember when my mom got me my first library card. Her and her mom, my other grandmother, loved reading and hoped I would love reading too, but I'm more of a writer. When my grandma moved to assisted living, she donated 4,000 books to the library. The same grandma lived across the street from the intermediate school, and every 4th of July, we'd walk towards the entry of the school bus line, and it would feel like we were the only ones in the world watching the fireworks. Whenever my family and I went to go eat at Java Jim's diner, there was a lady that worked there that I never knew her name, but whenever she saw me and my brother walk in, she'd outstretch her arms and demand a hug with a smile. The first house I ever lived in is right next door. And the cycle continues because that house had mold, and I would be saved again by Willows. I don't care if you listen to me, but listen to the people in this room because that's Willows. Whatever bad thing you do to Willows, just remember you may not be killing me physically, but you're hurting me as a soul that loves Willows. Thank you.
I suspect we'll have a number of folks coming up to speak, which we're anxious to hear. In order to make sure everybody has time, we do have a timer for 3 minutes. I will be a little bit lenient on that so you can finish your point. But please try to keep from repeating what somebody else has already said and stay to the point. So, next speaker.
Danielle Montoya.
For you.
Good.
Good, good. How are you?
My name is Danielle Montoya. I live here in town. This is to address the private security. Can you answer questions if I fire off questions, or I'm just telling you concerns?
Tell us what it is and we'll try to do what we can.
Most of them are yes or no questions. But I just want to confirm that this is a proposal. Nothing's put in place. Is that correct?
Why it's on our agenda for us to discuss, hear your feedback, and make our decision.
Perfect. I know that the cost that was given is $260 a month. This is based off of information that was posted for the contract. Does not include fuel costs. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that is additional fees. So it actually won't be 260. It would be more. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then the documentation, as far as those costs, are they providing receipts to show that they spent money on fuel? Like just something that would be a concern of mine.
Our pay policy is we need receipts and invoices before we would pay an invoice.
Perfect. Additionally, the $260,000 that's allotted monthly, are there additional funds for the lawsuits that will come with possible impersonation claims from armed guards or liability for things that they may be doing that they're not supposed to do? Are their contracts going to be available to us to read to see, what they are hired to do versus what they actually do?
It sounds like that's how are we going to manage the contract and those terms. We're not seeing the actual contract here tonight. So
Okay.
those sort of things would be specified in an actual contract document.
Okay, and then that would be public information provided to the city.
That would have to be approved by the council, yes.
Okay, and that information will be provided to us as people that live here.
Yes.
Okay. I know that there was talk of drones. Are these, with the officers that they're saying that they're going to have, are they people that are certified to use drones? I know that I worked for the state for many years, and the agencies I work for do not use drones unless they have specific training for that. So are there additional personnel at that point that would be?
Those perhaps the consultants could answer this type of question.
Yeah, they're certified to use them. Can I suggest, Vice Mayor Thomas, that maybe we collect all the questions that everybody has, and then I can provide a collective response that we can post on the city's website?
That would be a good plan.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. What they're saying. And I just want to confirm that we're all aware of the California Government Code 53060.7A alpha that states that police protection is an essential service for the protection of life and property and necessary to ensure the orderly conduct of society. My understanding is that this is private security, not post-certified law enforcement. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that that's the California Government Code. It's essential.
Time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the item's been postponed, so you would be a public comment on items not on the agenda. I'll bring that back, yes. After we finish this.
Action item. Agenda item. Action.
It was postponed, as in no action was taken. We have moved the discussion and action to a future meeting.
It was postponed. It wasn't. Oh, another day.
It's not.
The agenda is set by the mayor and the city manager. And so that item was removed for so the mayor could actually be here. That's why it was postponed.
Next speaker,
Next speaker.
Maria Ahorn.
This was not the reason I was here, but I did have some questions because I don't understand private security. I've never had to hire them myself. So what is private security? Are they allowed to arrest people, take them to jail? How's that work?
It would be by citizen's arrest
Citizens. So we still,
if they're not hang on, this is public comment. Okay, we'll be discussing this entire issue. We haven't even heard the presentation yet, so.
yeah. And so that was one of my questions because I don't.
Sorry, Mr. Vice
No.
Mayor.
Private security works. And
Yes.
what I read in here was like, they were like, stop, you're trespassing. I could do that pretty much myself. So I just want to know what we're paying for here exactly. What is this going to get us? And then so if we end up, I know we're trying to head towards getting our own police force back. So, and we spent 2.8 million. I know they want 3 point something now. So could we not use
The
that?
current contract's
Okay, 2.4. So would not be available then to start getting that police force up and running? I mean, and then we've got the new tax, and I don't know how much we've come in with that, but I know we spent some of that, so, and other things. So I'd like to know about that too.
Well,
So
just a quick answer to that question, Maria. In our budget, our adopted budget, we have the 2.355 million that we've been expending for law enforcement with the CPI.
Mhm.
That's what we were hoping to negotiate with the sheriff's
I
office for. So that money is in the budget and available for the next fiscal year for law enforcement.
And then I was here when the police force went away, working for the city, actually. So, but I wasn't part of that whole changeover. So where'd the equipment and all that go? Was that in the contracts? And is there any way to get some of that? I know it's old now, but get something back because we gave it to them. And then one other statement, I heard on the news that the police or the sheriff's department said Willows takes up 56% of their, time. When this police force went to the county, they had a certain amount that did county. So when that happened, they got extra officers, which were supposed to be specifically, my understanding, for the city of Willows. So I don't see where city of Willows is taking up any extra of their workforce because they had added people.
We agree with you.
I
Okay,
agree. Currently, we're paying for 9 full-time deputies, a full-time lieutenant and a full-time sergeant and a full-time detective.
yeah. So, and to be honest with you, I don't see much going on. So I was hoping we could use whatever we're not spending in the sheriff's department, maybe get that up and going. But I was wondering about the equipment, if there's any way to get reimbursed for what they were given.
Most of the equipment's probably seeing its life expectancy expire,
Yeah.
but there is a clawback provision for some of it.
Okay.
Yeah, Maria, when the city contracted with the Glenn County Sheriff's Office for law enforcement services under Sheriff Rich Warren in 2017, yes, all but 2 of the Willows Police Department officers went over to the sheriff's office. You're exactly correct. Yes, absolutely.
So don't like hearing that we're using their resources. They had theirs and then they got more. So yeah, I just want a good look at this and
Yeah,
we can get ours back.
And the equipment was utilized. Much of it was utilized. It could be utilized, and of course, that's been 9 years. So
That's the issue, but that was
obsolete. Yeah.
with
Yeah.
it. So I think maybe we could get some kind of
Yeah.
something back.
Thank you, Marie.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Jared Shipley.
Thank you all and good evening. Let's talk numbers. Vice Mayor, you said that the sheriff is currently requesting $3.4 million under what would be a new contract. This proposal states upwards of $260,000 a month. The difference there on the breakdown is about $23,000. I think to utilize our trusted county law enforcement staff, that gap is close enough that I encourage the council here to continue to work with the county to keep these services local. Part of the issue that I have with the proposal having an outfit from Southern California that may look like law enforcement, folks that aren't familiar enough with what law enforcement does, sure, it looks like the same tactics. It looks like the same uniforms. It looks like the same equipment. But I ask each and every one of you, would you have your favorite NFL team's punter come up and start throwing passes? No, they look the same, but they're very, very different. These folks are private security. They are geared to supplement law enforcement for private security events, for special events. Cities like Los Angeles, Orlando, Miami-Dade, these are representatives to work special events. The city of Willows is not a special event. The city of Willows is just special. So I would really encourage the entire council to utilize the next 7 days. I know there's a lot of pressure to make a decision. Utilize these next 7 days to see if you can bridge that gap with the county, come up with that same short-term solution, and utilize those next 90 days to both have a next 9-month short-term solution to round out the year, but also a long-term solution to get the proper fix. This is not the proper fix. This is not what the city needs. This will not only not help the city long term, but you'll lose your constituency. This can set us back several years in one false move by these folks for all of the reasons that you'll hear tonight. I'll leave my time there.
Very well said. Janet Fruit or Fruit? Sorry.
I know I'm a foreigner here, but I was born here and I own a home here. And I'm here taking care of my elderly mom, who you all know, Ruby Hill. Okay, I wrote this out after talking to my husband, who's a very knowledgeable person, and these are his concerns. And some maybe you can answer, and some are just concerns. California law requires a qualified, not anybody, a qualified designated person to be in charge of law enforcement for a city, like a chief of police. Who will take on this responsibility? And would this person be immediately available 24/7? Who's going to take on that responsibility if we have a contract with an outside agency? Is this going to be somebody in Los Angeles? Not here? We need somebody here immediately. Is there an indemnity or an indemnity clause in the contract to hold the city harmless in case the contracted company's officers inadvertently or intentionally break the law while carrying out their work? After all, they're not officers. Will employees be bonded to protect the city against liability? We don't know that. We haven't seen a contract. Without indemnity and a bond, the city will be responsible. That could cost a lot of money. Previous and current contracts with this contract company are not immediately available online. I had my husband really dig into that today. So there is no pattern that the public, us, can follow to know what their contract usually looks like. It is possibly not immediately available to the city council due to the short time that is available to the council, the city attorney, and the city manager due to the time constraint to push this contract through by July 1st. The constraint in acquiring previous and current contracts with the security company are controlled under the Freedom of Information Act and the need to protect information associated with public safety. So we understand why we can't immediately get the information. It's protected. You have to go through some doors and prove who you are and that you need the information. But there's not much time to get it. Will the city council have access to previous and current contracts with this security company to see how their contracts looked in the past and to avoid possible pitfalls? This is really being rushed along. There's not much time for adequate vetting. I'm very concerned. We could be jumping into a giant hole of a lawsuit. We don't have the money now. We don't need any more liabilities. So give that some thought. Thanks.
Thank you.
Michelle Knight.
Michelle Knight. I worked and retired from local law enforcement for 28 years. Contracting services through a basic private security agency is a huge safety and security risk and liability. It is irresponsible and dangerous. Furthermore, who is going to even listen to them? They don't even have real peace officer arrest powers. They are not qualified. Who in our community wants people from the LA area coming to our small town telling us what to do? How did such a contract even come to be placed on the agenda in the first place without violating the Brown Act in order for all of you to discuss it? This contract equates to $3,120,000 per year plus gasoline costs. If we have this much money, then we have enough money to pay the cost for the sheriff's contract as charged. $85 to $125 per hour per employee is shameful compared to what our local real police officers are being paid. The sheriff is wanting to charge $3.4 million for his services. The last 4 years for transitional planning was wasted by the city. When the sheriff once again offered a reduced fee if you hired a chief and additional reductions as you hired additional staff, why didn't the city take this opportunity to transition once again for Willows City Police Department? Years back, our major businesses included Manville, Budweiser, Rumiano Cheese, along with other small businesses. This supported a full-time police department, recreation department, library, and swimming pool. We now have Walmart and a new tax, yet you all are saying we are struggling financially. Perhaps it is time you have an outside agency come in and conduct a forensic audit. I truly believe that you are here for the greater good.
Just as a point of clarification, it's called the Single Audit Act. The city's audited every year. It's available. An independent auditor, the state goes over it, and if there's any discrepancies, they investigate.
I want to reclaim my time.
I'm just.
We'll give you extra,
anybody.
Michelle.
I'm just
Just a
informing.
couple seconds. I don't know how much. I truly believe that you all are here for the greater good. I do. I really, truly do. But whoever's idea this is should step down or be fired. The only solution is to contact the sheriff's office and ask them to go back to that plan that the sheriff had offered originally and beg him to go back to it and ask him for the reduced fees until we can transition back and get our police department back for the safety of this community. Thank you.
Carol McCoy.
I'm a fairly new resident to Willows, but I think I have the right to ask that my city government act like adults. That includes the sheriff, the city manager, and all of the council. I will try to do the same. In fact, I do every day. And I know you do also, but sometimes it doesn't show. We need to get the sheriff back to the table and back to representing us in the way he should. I really resent having a rent-a-cop as my security. I don't approve of it. They're far away. They don't understand small villages. This is a very small town. It's taken me forever to get the hang of it, and I'm not even sure I have it now. But I do know that there are many old families that are represented in this town that still have a very strong say in how we do our business. And I think we should prevail upon them to offer their advice and get their support for our own police department. How we're going to afford it, I don't know. I don't think the tax that we have voted for is sufficient enough to warrant the kind of service that we really need. My father was a policeman for 30 years, and I am very, very familiar with the ins and outs of how a police department runs. I would say you have a very big job to do with very little financial support. I wish you well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Joyce Cassander.
Hi, I'm Joyce Welch Cassander. I live at 611 West Wood Street. I was a teacher for the gentleman that's not here tonight. And also for that. There. Here's what I'm ticked about. Maybe I'm living in a shell and I wasn't aware of it, but it's just like June 1st, we found out that we're in this dilemma. This is a serious dilemma. And I don't want to rent a cop or a cop in a box. And I mean, these people know a lot more about that than I do, and especially the young lady over there. And that's scary. And I don't I would not want to be sued as a person or as an entity. And as far as the auditor, I only know what I read, but it said that at the bottom of the audit that they only can do with what they get for figures, so whatever that means. Then the young lady beside me talked about authority to arrest, and the one young lady up here said that was not a possibility, write tickets. And I also think that if you look at a big city, now I've been here 41 years, I'm the new kid on the block. I came from Danville, down in the Bay Area, and I'm not sure that they would know what to do with us up here, but I think we're all wonderful, by the way. And I don't know if you multiply 260,000 times 12, you get $3,120,000. I don't know how far away you are from the sheriff's department, but some of the people that walk past my house on Wood Street or up Murdoch are kind of interesting. And I don't really want them visiting me. I'll give you a little story, then I'll maybe shut up. We're not sure. My kids made me, but I don't have it on, get a thing because I'm a senior citizen now. So if I fell down, that they would come and get me and take me to the hospital. So one day I'm pulling a weed out in the front yard. And before I knew it, my kids are calling me. The thing that says where they're to go, and like my GPS, they had me at the city pool, which that's another issue. And and then they didn't come to get me because I wasn't there. And then I got in touch with them. And then a police officer, sheriff's department, came to make sure I was okay. And then I had to prove who I was with ID. So that was really nice. And all of you that work here are on this committee. This is a tough job. And thank you for doing it. But you have to make the numbers. I'd like to see the numbers for the city of Willows and the numbers for the sheriff's department and how they figure out all these costs. Like you're saying, 500,000 didn't look like a good idea for you to be responsible for.
Time.
And thank you.
Sorry about that.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you.
Carl Walter.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Mayor, council members, friends, neighbors. My name is Carl Welter, and most of you have known me for at least 25 years when I first moved to Willows. I am currently still a Willows resident and a career law enforcement supervisor and administrator with more than 35 years of experience, with 15 years of experience as the number 2 with the Willows Police Department. Before I retired in 2015 and went to another agency in the Sacramento region. I'm here today because June 30th is not just a contract deadline. It is the line between real law enforcement and a symbolic substitute. Let me be clear about the proposal to bring in a private security company after the Glynn County Sheriff's contract ends. Security guards are not peace officers under California law. They do not have the authority, the training, or a legal mandate to provide full law enforcement services within a city. At best, they can observe, report, possibly deter by their presence, and they can make a citizen's arrest. All like any other private person. Problem is, with that citizen's arrest, they have to turn it over by law to a law enforcement agency. What agency? They cannot replace a 24/7 police presence that can investigate crimes, forward complaints to the district attorney, make arrests on probable cause, detain suspicious people, or handle active emergencies. If the public is led to believe that a security contract somehow covers law enforcement after June 30th, that is dangerous. It creates a false sense of safety and leaves residents and businesses exposed when a real emergency happens. Both the city and the county share responsibility for this crisis. Willows disbanded its police department in 2017 and became dependent upon the sheriff's office through contracts that grew more expensive and more contentious over time. Glenn County has now given notice that the current agreement ends on June 30th, 2026, because the parties could not reach an agreement. The city has responded by going to court to try to keep its services in place while the dispute continues. That is not public safety planning, it is crisis management by litigation. The city cannot meet its obligations to residents by saying that the sheriff walked away, and the county cannot responsibly end services to a contract city without a realistic transition plan. Tonight, I ask for three things. First, be honest with the public. Private security is cosmetic. It may watch property and call 911, but it is not law enforcement. Second, direct staff to return quickly with real options, an interim sheriff agreement, a phased reestablishment of the Willows Police Department, or both. Something with clear staffing, costs, and coverage assumptions. Third, insist that the city and the county negotiate in good faith, in public, with community safety as the priority. If you choose a cosmetic solution, the community will learn the difference the first time a major incident happens after June 30th. If you choose a real solution, it will take money, it will take hard decisions and cooperation, but it can begin restoring something the city has lacked for many years, trust of the community. Thank you.
Gina Taylor. Gina Taylor.
Good evening, Gina Taylor, resident of Willows. My question is, do you know who you're doing business with if you enter in this contract tonight with this Kodai Consulting? I did a quick Google search and their website is void of any sort of information. No email address, no phone number, no address. Who are they? Who are we doing business with? So then I thought, okay, I'm going to go to the California Secretary of State website. Google, look it up there. They've only been incorporated since 2024, May 2024. So barely 2 years. Their principal address listed with the state is a private mailbox in Santa Monica. Their mailing address is a $4 million home in Venice Beach. Each person listed as the principal of the corporation has its separate, they all have the same address in Glendale, which is a registered process server. Who are we doing business with? We can look you guys in the eye. We voted for you. We all live in this town and we care about each other. How is a consulting firm in LA going to protect us as community members and citizens? Please work with our local sheriff and come to a solution, please.
Thank you.
Jesse Orndorff. She can get up and speak.
Hi, I'm Kathy Orndorff. I'm actually a senior quality management auditor for Pacific Gas and Electric. So my brain works a little bit different. So when I'm sitting there, what I'm hearing, we have 2 security officers, 1 sergeant. That equals to 84 working hours a week, each person, excluding the sergeant. So now we got to ask ourselves about fatigue. You with somebody tired walking around a community they have no familiarity with, none, with a loaded firearm? So let's think about that. Different cultures. Southern California is very different than we are here. And then let's go ahead and pop over because I'm going to ping all over because I'm limited time. Are you comfortable with drones flying above your children, your grandchildren, playing in your yard, riding scooters down the street? Where's that footage going? Who's going to be reviewing that footage? I mean, we're in the day and age that I'm very cautious when it comes to my children and my grandchildren. I don't want them on film, that I didn't give permission for. So, and then the young lady prior to me, they've only been in business since May of 2024. That's an issue. They're not even established. What is their grade? Let's look at their history. Let's talk to their clients, their prior clients, because that's an enormous amount of money to be paying for 2 security guards. Instead of paying that, let's utilize the neighborhood watch group. We love our neighborhoods. Let us protect our own neighborhoods. What's the cost of that? I don't know. Maybe some flashlights, high-vis vest, a couple signs, neighborhood watch area. So just a couple things just to think about, because I'm not comfortable. And I just purchased my home in November. And had I known in November, I would lose a hospital and a sheriff's department. That leaves us with the fire department and possibly 2 security guards and their sergeant, making more money than I make. And I could do their job, not tired. 84 hours a week's hard. So just a couple things to think about. So I yield back.
Thank you.
I have a written public comment from Victoria Shipley. And I'm going to read it into the record because she's unable to at this moment. Willows Armed Patrol with NASTEC Kodai. According to attachment 1 from Kodai Consulting Group, the public safety initiative will include per shift 1 supervisor and 2 officers, each in 1-person units and all working 12-hour shifts from NASTEC, plus unspecified personnel, location, base from Kodai. This format will be in place for up to 3 months. 1, presumably none of the NASTEC personnel are from Glenn County. The company itself is located in the LA area of California, Calabasas. Assumed that all personnel are used to large cities and the amenities, lifestyles presented therein. The schedule presented in the agenda attachment had personnel working 12-hour shifts, 8 hours straight pay, 4 hours overtime pay. Where, who are the weekends, holidays, sick time coverage? Are new people rotated in each 5 days? This would mean that none of the personnel even have time to learn our town or the people in it. 2, NASTEC personnel are providing non-law enforcement coverage at pay rates twice what Glenn County Sheriff deputies make at top range. The number of personnel that NASTEC will provide will be manpower only, half that provided by the Sheriff's Department over the last year, and the type of work or abilities, non-sworn, that will be much less than provided by the Sheriff's Office. Plus the projected cost for personnel and equipment, there is an additional build cost for fuel for vehicles. All of this, very high hourly rates and overtime, plus additional fuel overhead for limited personnel and abilities does not seem a good expenditure of funds. 3, the additional services provided by Kodai may work well in large events, large population situations. Willows is a small rural community with a large percentage of elderly residents with mutual aid, with surrounding law, fire for SWAT and other disaster events, and relatively short travel distances for that help to come to scene. Brighter street lights, drones flying over neighborhoods, thermal imaging, and talk-down speakers are very invasive of personal space and freedom and anti-ethical for the lifestyles in our town. Okay. Stacy Roque.
Hi, Stacy Roque. I just wanted to say that we need actual law enforcement. If you're thinking about hiring a security firm that doesn't have qualifications and the abilities of the police or law enforcement, you might as well just have neighborhood watch and VIPs, and you don't have to pay them anything, and then you'll be subject to just as many lawsuits, which is going to cost the city even more. So again, we need actual law enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
I have nothing else. This says 7B. Okay. Would you like to speak? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Marlena Sparkman. I'm a 10-year citizen of Willows and I own the Glenn County Shopper. I have several questions and comments. The first thing that's really important to me is why did we wait again to the last minute to try to solve this? We should have been on this 3 months ago so that we could have, if you had this conversation about the security then, people could have given their answers and got some answers, or given their questions, got answers back before the contract expires. Here's the thing to think about. If there's a murder, a robbery, an assault in Willows, like Willows Pharmacy being broken into, and we don't have real law enforcement, what's going to happen then? And do you really want a private security guard pulling a gun on Jack Sparkman? No, or the rest of the men around this county like that have guns at home. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. These are people from another community that don't understand our community, and it's not going to work. And what you're going to have is civil liberties that will be violated. They're going to try to stop somebody, and then somebody's going to tell them to F off because they have no power. They don't have search and seizure power. They can't get a warrant. They can't go and put together cold crimes and work those because they're not trained. So why would we want to spend $260,000 a month on something when if we put that together, we aggregate it over a year, we could have our sheriff that we trust and that we know loves our community. Now I realize that 3 of the 4 of you weren't here when all of this happened. So it's kind of like inheriting a mess, and you've got to just be like, oh my God, what are we going to do? You know, it's a rock and a hard place. But if it were your family having a drone fly over your house, parked out looking at your kids or your grandkids, how would you feel about that? The same way that we do. We don't want that to happen. And so when you make this decision, you can't just make it as a fiscal decision. You have to make it remembering that you're our neighbor and our family and our friends and small business owners. And this private security makes absolutely no sense at all. So one of the things too is I'd like to hear from the district attorney, because he's the one that's going to have to prosecute if these guys don't know what they're doing. And I don't think they do, but Dwayne's going to end up with a hot mess. And so that needs to be a huge consideration. You know, if someone commits a crime and these people stop them, can we even prosecute them? Or are they just going to get off? Because right now it's made the news that Willows has no police department, and in 8 days, we're not going to have a sheriff department. So it's like just telling all the bad guys, hey, come on, right? I would like to know also why this didn't go out to bid, why 2 companies that don't sound reputable have been chosen without a bid process, why they're from Southern California and not Northern California, so we can have some recourse maybe. Who's going to pay their per diem? If they have to stay overnight here, do we pay that as a community, or is that part of the $260,000? And then on top of that, like we heard tonight, the fuel. So we can't leave some of the details out. That's not right.
Time.
Have we checked their references to see, are they any good? Do they have other cities that they've worked for, that they've done this? Because we deserve more than to be treated like an event or a concert. We deserve to be treated like our safety matters. And that's not how I feel when you wait 8 days before the contract expires to try to figure out a solution. Now, I know you've been talking about it, but talk is cheap, right?
Thank you.
We need solutions to make sure that we're all safe. And I don't feel safe. Again, and I felt like this last time. So we need the Glenn County Sheriff's Office. We don't need the mall patrol. We need for you guys to vote for us and not for what the administrators are telling you. Because if someone gets hurt, whose name is going to be on the line? If we get hurt because there's private security here, you have to know that we're going to come talk to you, Lori and Rick and Gary and Matt. So it's not fair to us, but it's also not fair to you to ask you to stick your neck out to do that either. And if this passes, where does that $260,000 come from? Because if we can't afford the sheriff, why can we afford that? Everybody said it all night long. It's obvious. We should not do that.
Time.
The 1 point.
Anyone else?
I think we haven't had a chance to discuss it at all. So I think you'll might hear a few things. Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me. Councilman?
Gentleman in the back.
Sorry. Hi. My name is Jim Alves. I've lived in this county and city for 74 years. I know some of you I don't, but we have elected you people with our trust for you to run this city at the best of your ability. Okay? I'm sure that Willows has counsel, a lawyer that knows the right and the wrongs, the things that you can do. Okay? I know none of you, I don't think, were here when they decided to abandon the police department, the dumbest thing that ever happened. But regardless of that, you folks are here to make the decisions for the people. Okay? Why do we need a city manager? Why can't you make the decisions? Talk to your lawyer if they're legal. Not. My suggestion would be fire the city manager, take her wages, and restart the PDs. Yeah, I feel.
Dan Gupton.
As you can tell, there's a lot of concern, and this is a tough job for everyone. One thing that's hurt Willows is we've had no growth business-wise. We're stagnant. We have to admit that. We have no growth in housing. Nobody's coming here. So how can we, even if we get a police force, what are we going to do when it goes up and up? And we have to do another property tax? It'll be voted down because they look at, what are you doing for me now? And I do think that mall cops are not going to work. I was in search and rescue, and I went to Butte College and got my post. And I was search and rescue. That was free, but I had all the training. You don't know what they can do. How many lawsuits have they had since 2024? Have you looked into that? That's a big factor because it's the lawsuits that'll catch us. And then the other thing, in July, will you please come and talk about why they want to get rid of the library staff, the board? I'm vice president. We really need your support.
Please speak to the microphone.
Thank you. Thank you.
If it's deemed necessary. Mr. Ross? Yes?
Come on up. What? Doug Ross. Yes.
I can have two if you want.
Right there.
Double my voice. Hi, Doug Ross, DOUGROSS. Known somewhat for a long time as a Valley Mirror reporter and still proud of it. But I also have a separate life as a citizen of Willows. Don't tell publisher Donald Settle I said that. But I don't have a real long experience in legalities. I've worked for lawyers for a long time, and in between working and getting kicked out of newspapers for excellence in journalism. To get to the point, it seems to me a legal issue is at hand here. Is it legal that non-peace officers standing and training, POST, people even be deployed at all into a community in lieu of a police force or sheriff's department because of lacking POST training and POST authorizations? If there's any issue that should be speedily decided on an emergency basis by the Superior Court locally, I think that question should be decided now. Mrs. Settle is not here, but she was going to be here tonight, but that more or less was somewhat of an encapsulation of what she was going to say. What I was going to say is, in the same spirit that the fire department has many, many, many mutual aid entities that it relies on. And if the only contractor is with the sheriff's department, or B, there are other options such as to contract with other sheriff's departments. There's a whole cluster of counties surrounding us. I'm sure Colusa County would be glad to pitch in mutual aid. And I'm not talking necessarily for free, but we could have 15 agencies that surround us. If it's okay to, if it's okay to contract with one sheriff's department, then that seems to me a kind of de facto limiting your bids. You're so narrowed in to one option, really, that it seems to me there's a larger picture out there. I will admit that over my career and locally also, my career here, that if I was the number of times I've been listened to, and I don't often advocate stuff in my column in the paper, I'd be batting .067 if it were baseball, and I'd be run out in the first 2 weeks if I gauged my success of my ideas. But my basic point is, if Neighborhood Watch, if a private a private security firm from Southern California, if CDEFGHIG can be mustered, then what more could be mustered in order to create a kind of flotilla effect? I'm starting to like the sound of my own voice this evening, which is a bad sign. So I'm just going to submit that as an idea that I don't think the periscope, as it were, has been opened enough to possibilities, or B, Willows is so locked in that it can't make a proper move. But C, I would call upon the Superior Court, instead of waiting to July 8th, to make a sort of ruling, or what are they going to do on July 8th? That they look at it sooner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
You've got a hand from Carol.
Yes, one more. We're going to discuss it tonight. Yes.
Yes.
Right now.
We just wanted to hear from you all first, and then we'll speak our thoughts.
Yes.
Come on up to this microphone. State your name.
Hi, my name is Bertie Panthafong. I wasn't going to talk, but everyone's talked about a lot of stuff here today. What they didn't talk about is the crime that's about to happen. I'm really worried. Excuse me, because I'm emotional here. But I'm really worried because, like they said, it's on the news. We don't have police. Now we're not going to have sheriffs. We're not going to have any protection. And so when the crime starts, the gangs start, the people come in looting, or they come in like, robbing our cars and home invasions and the theft at Walmart. Who's going to go to Walmart? I love Walmart. But they've pulled out of many cities because of too much theft, And so we're inviting people via the news to come in. Hey, there's a free-for-all here. They're not protected. Security, great, but only honest people are going to abide by what they have to say. None of these bad people are going to. And to be honest, how about, where's our money coming from? Like Thunder Hill? Are these high-end people? Are they going to even want to come here? Because it's going to become, you know, a little, I don't know what's the right word for it, like a ghetto, if you will. If we have nothing, we really do need.
We agree that we need police
We really do. We
services.
can't just-
Absolutely. That's what we're working towards.
Thank you.
Thank you. Treasurer,
Good evening, Jesse Orndorff. Everybody's spoken extensively about crime, and I wholeheartedly agree with their sentiments. What no one has mentioned, with the absence of police, there will be zero traffic enforcement. There's been several people that have said, well, what are they going to do? Call 911. What happens if we call 911? Obviously, the rent-a-cop ain't coming, and he couldn't do anything if he did. Who shows up? Are we waiting an hour for a highway patrolman to come? Does the county sheriff come in under an emergency? Has anybody explored that contingency? Has that come through your research from the city manager? Who responds to traffic accidents?
so I'm writing all your questions down.
Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council members, who wants to go first?
Mr. Mayor, I'll begin.
Mr. Hanson.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Vice Mayor, I'm sorry. You used to be the mayor. Now you're Mr. Vice Mayor. Thank
Council
you.
member Hanson, I should.
Oh, thank you, Rick. I'm opposed to private security, pertaining to our issues here, and always have been. The reason this is on the agenda tonight is because the city council is exploring all options. Okay, and it was a consensus of the council to include this. This is one option. For pretty much all of the comments here, that's why I'm opposed to it. So for those of you who don't know me, many of you know me, some of you don't. My name is Gary Hansen. I've been a law enforcement officer for 48 years. I started when I was 19 years old here at Willows Police Department. I was at Willows Police Department for 2 years. Then I went to the Glenn County Sheriff's Office. I loved that place. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears in that place. I was at Glenn County Sheriff's Office just shy of 15 years. I was a supervisor there. I worked as a watch commander. I worked as detective supervisor, as a training officer, as an arson investigator. All kind. I won't bore you with anymore. I pretty much every faucet of that operation, including supervision, with the exception of management. My goal was to stay at Glenn County Sheriff's Office because I'm also involved in family farming operation here. We grow rice and law enforcement. Those are two of my passions. Like I say, I spent 48 years in law enforcement. I officially retired on January 2nd of this year from the state of California. After I back up a little bit, after serving just under 15 years with the sheriff's office, I went to work for state of California, and as a peace officer in investigations role with a state investigative law enforcement agency, where we investigated full scope law enforcement matters, just like I did the sheriff's office. And I rose through all ranks there, training, supervision, management, command, and executive, ultimately becoming the chief of the state law enforcement agency. It was a great agency. When I retired 10 years ago now, it doesn't seem like it's been, I was asked to come back as a retired annuitant with our sister agency, a sister state agency, where I served until January 2nd. in a management and training capacity, as a mentoring capacity, and so on and so forth. So I'm fully aware of policing in California from a city level, from a sheriff's office level, and from a state level. I worked in every county in the state with the exception of Mono County. I understand what you're saying. I agree with almost everything you've said. Public safety is paramount. As city council members, we take an oath of office, as you know, and it is our duty. Our number one duty is to provide you, the citizens, effective public safety. And that's what we have done in Willows since I've been on the city council. We have an outstanding fire department. We had a good police department. And there came a time when that became very difficult to manage only from a fiscal position, but from a personnel position, which is a common issue in the state of California now. And anybody in law enforcement can tell you that retention is very difficult. And anyway, it all costs money. It comes down. It all comes down to money in the end. So we contracted with the Glynn County Sheriff's Office and had an outstanding relationship with the Glynn County Sheriff's Office. It's been 9 years that the Sheriff's Office has been providing contractual law enforcement for the city of Willows, and has done very good work at that. And because policing in California is policing in California, a peace officer in California is a peace officer in California as far as municipal policing go. Always, one of my old sayings was, and I had one of my break-in officers 48 years ago tell me, it's not the patch you're riding for. It doesn't really matter what agency you're with. There are very few differences between municipal policing agencies in the state of California because of statute, because of state and federal statute, and post-training mandates since the California Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training, which all good agencies follow, as does the Glynn County Sheriff's Office. We've had some difficult negotiation processes here with the City of Willows, between the City of Willows and the Glynn County Sheriff's Office. We have been in negotiations for some time. This just didn't begin last week. We started negotiations. Was it July of last year? July of last year was our first negotiation meeting. Myself and Vice Mayor Thomas are on the Law Enforcement Services Ad Hoc Committee, and we've been meeting with city staff and Sheriff's Office personnel a number of times since then. We've had some difficulties in reaching an agreement, as you know. I'm confident that will resolve itself. I pray to God that it does. We need real law enforcement officers, peace officers on duty, protecting all of you, our citizens, our kids, our grandkids, our loved ones, our family members, everybody. We're all in this together. I feel very strongly about that. Carl Walter, I've known Carl, when was it 25 years ago, Carl, since you got here? Yeah. Hello, Carl. Good to see you. Thank you for speaking tonight. Everything Carl Walter said is true. Everything almost all of you said is true. I mean, there are some questions. I just want to make sure that you as citizens don't think that we just thought last week that we had a problem. This council's been actively, very, very actively hands-on with this matter. Right now, we're in mediation. Which is an option in our current law enforcement contract with the county. That's the process now. As you know, an emergency writ has been filed in Glynn County Superior Court, and that is yet to be heard by a Superior Court judge, but I'm confident that it will. We obviously have no idea what the outcome of that is at this time. The writ's been filed, and we're waiting to hear from the court. That's the legal process. We need 24-hour effective law enforcement coverage here within the City of Willows. Private security has its place. Private security is a good supplement to law enforcement, but that is not our answer. I'm opposed to the private security concept here. Like I said, we've explored all options as a backup plan and as a backup plan. we have limited options here because I'll tell you, during our last negotiation process 2.5 to 3 years ago, roughly, I contacted other law enforcement agencies in the area, and no one was interested in providing services for the city of Willows. Excuse me, I need a drink of water. Rick and I have been in meetings all day. Rick and I have been in meetings all day here in long, so I'm sorry, my mouth is getting a little dry talking here. Been talking for, I don't know, 11 hours now or whatever it's been. So, anyway, I just want to make sure that, we just didn't think of this last week. Okay. We've been working on it. Your council is working on that. We're working with our partners. I've been negotiating with our partners at the Glenn County Sheriff's Office. Okay. And hopefully it works out the way I like to see it work out. But we're in mediation. Mediation is confidential information. I cannot and will not talk about mediation. I cannot. It's not allowed. We're in legal. We're currently in a legal, entered into a legal matter with the county. The writ's been filed. That also, I have to be very careful what I say because I know all the ins and outs of this. Okay. I know all the ins and outs of this as other members, other individuals do too. However, I'm not at liberty just to get up here and blab and violate the law and violate confidentiality. I hope you understand that. I cannot and will not do that. In some instances, it's not wise. Some instances it could be illegal. It could be very detrimental. So it's a tightrope I'm walking with my comments tonight, other than to tell you that we are currently actively in mediation with Glenn County. Okay. I know that we need 24-hour effective law enforcement services here, just like every other community needs. Private security, as I said, has its place. This is not a matter for us to turn over to private security because they're not peace officers. You have search and seizure issues. You have detention issues. You have laws of arrest issues. You have investigative issues. You have police tactical issues. You have police issues. I know I've been there. I've done that. I've written the policy. I've enacted the policy. I've worked at all levels in law enforcement, including chief. And I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. So I hope that you trust this council to do the right thing. That's what we're trying to do. Okay. I really appreciate all of your comments. I've written. I'm a note taker. I've got all your names down. I've got the highlights of your comments down. Appreciate your comments. Appreciate your input. I know we need real law enforcement. Okay. That's a must. This is not a job for security guards. Security guards have their place, but they're not peace officers, as we know. This work very well maybe, and I know I've talked with one of the principals. It's been some time back. Years ago, with what is it? Let's see my notes here. NASTEC, the security firm here. NASTEC, Southern California security firm, as you know, they do supplemental work in Beverly Hills and other agencies in Southern California. I believe the principal is on Zoom. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name.
Blake Nance.
Blake. Hello, Blake. Blake's on Zoom. Yeah, I've spoken with Blake before. I have, and it's been a couple of years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago. Blake knows his business. I'm confident. I'm talking about NASDAQ. I'm not familiar with the KCG firm. Not familiar with them, but I have talked to Blake at NASDAQ. They were initially met with skepticism in Beverly Hills by the Beverly Hills Police Department. However, they proved their worth down there as a supplemental agency. Okay. So that's, one reason. Just, I'm opposed to this. It is, and it is also a lot of money. We have roughly a $2.35 million, well, right at 2.35 million is our current fiscal year that ends next Tuesday budget for law enforcement services that we're currently paying for and providing that the sheriff's office is providing contractual services for, right? Our issue here is monetarily with the passage of Measure I. We were finally able to get back to delivering core basic services all the way around in the city. I'm talking public safety. I'm talking, law enforcement, fire, public works, public infrastructure. There's been a lot of deferred maintenance. Those monies finally started to come in on a quarterly basis, the tax proceeds, and they're coming in on schedule. Our problem is financial. How do we pay for existing law enforcement services and also reestablish a police department? We're working and have been working on reestablishing a Willows Police Department. We've been actively working on that, pursuing solutions. We had action at our last meeting? I'm sorry, the meetings run together. Moving forward with the formation of a Melrose district. So those items are all into work now. That's a funding mechanism that can be tailored to our needs. We're working on that. We've been working on a plan of action. I just want to make sure that you're all aware of that and know that. Unfortunately, there's some things that I can't share because of mandated confidentiality issues. But that's what I can share in a nutshell. I just want to let you know that I do know what I'm talking about. Public safety is obviously the priority, law enforcement and fire, in my mind, as well as public works, public infrastructure. That's where it's at. So it's about delivery of effective, efficient services to keep the public safe. And I think, Mr. Vice Mayor, that those are all the comments I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hanson. Mr. Busby, Councilman Busby, do you have any?
Sure. So yeah, I think I want to echo everything Gary said. Like, hey, this is a plan D sucks. We're just trying to find ways to keep our community safe. We all live here, have kids here. Like, we want the same things that you guys want. So I think that having a constructive conversation about how we mitigate this or how we kind of work through this is the point of all this. And so, hey, like the audit thing, like, hey, it's just one of those things from a constructive, like, hey, how we have a good conversation. We are audited. Everybody's available to go get that. It's a public records request. I encourage everybody to go do it if you really like spreadsheets. To Measure I think that's one of the things that both Rick and I are on the Measure I steering committee. What's the transparency committee?
Measure I oversight committee.
The oversight committee. So we meet quarterly. The last few of those meetings, unfortunately, nobody's come. But just to go over some rough stuff. Hey, where's the money going? Because that's kind of my thing. To echo Dan's point, I don't know if Dan Gupton's still in here. The city very much has a revenue problem. Everything is getting more expensive for everybody in this room. The only thing that changes for us is the amount of money we take in does not change unless we open new businesses or charge more tax. So our costs keep going up, but our revenue stays the same. We have a revenue problem in this city, and this has been a revenue problem for, as far as I can tell from the books I've looked at, it's been a revenue problem for about 10 to 15 years. We've been spending out of the savings account for quite a while. The tune of that, before Measure I, we were spending about $800,000 a year out of the savings account. So the first $800,000 of Measure I goes away immediately. About $300,000 toward CalPERS, which you've heard about, unfunded pension liability, and I will always take an opportunity to complain about that. There's an organization called CalPERS. They manage all of the pension funds for the old pension system in California. They have an investment fund. If their investment fund loses money, they turn around and tell the municipalities that you have to cover that. We are covering $300,000 a year in their bad investments. That pisses me off. It should piss you guys off too. We went out and hired a full-time librarian, children's librarian. Unfortunately, our hospital closed. We had to get Nate all set up to be able to provide ALS service for the city. All of these things are not free. None of them were on our bingo card. We didn't want to have to go out to do these kinds of things. The other thing that I don't know if everybody was here, I think there are some familiar faces. Hey, we have an ambulance situation that's also brewing. It's probably equally important to this decision here. we're going to have to pay for some of that. Like there's going to be money that we have to contribute here. So this is like for us a dollars and cents thing. The amount of money being asked for does not exist. If we agree to it, we are bankrupt in 2.5 years. We're trying to get to a place where we can provide all the things that we all expect here. So I think we're all on the same team. To echo Carl, wherever you're at, your 3 points, rock, like right on. We want the same things. I think it was in there in the kind of the things that all got put out in the press release. We asked for a meeting with Glenn County about this months ago to sit down and talk about this. They did not want to sit down with us. So, hey, we're trying to do the things that we can do, but we only have so many tools in the toolbox. I agree with you. Hey, private security sucks. It's one of the only tools we got left in the toolbox. Understood. I didn't hear you. I appreciate that. Hey,
one at a time, please. We can't hear. But right now we have a council member's got the chair.
correct. Really close. We're not there yet. This is the first full year. We still haven't gotten all of it, but it looks like it's going to be right about 2.2. Yes. That's what I was just kind of going over. Like, hey, look, 800. Supplementing core services. Yes. I didn't hear you. Unfortunately, it doesn't get divvied up that way. It's kind of through the budget process. Like different public works doesn't need that much money. So that's the budget process, and we've had a lot of meetings.
We're a little off the rails here.
Yeah. I think
Let
that like
Mr. Busby have his speak and say what it is. We can't have a back and forth from multiple people in the audience at the same time. Doesn't get recorded, doesn't effectively hit our recordings so people can understand if they watch tomorrow.
So the budget is a process that happens over a lot of time. We've met on it a handful of times. They're public meetings. People can come in and look at the budget and ask questions about the budget, and then nobody comes. And so like, hey, look, and that's not like an accusation or anything like that. These are things that are available to everybody. This information is out there. My point here is we agree with you. We are trying to get to the right solutions. We only have limited tools in the toolbox. That's all I got.
Thank you. Councilmember Pride.
Well, good evening. I want to say I just want to thank all of you for coming. I read all your Facebook comments and appreciate you being here in person tonight. We have been, I'm a year and a half into sitting up here, and, it's a different perspective when you sit up here. And, we've all heard the saying that hindsight is 2020. So we have been talking, as we've heard from our other council members, a lot about law enforcement, and time flies by. And I would have to categorize it as just maybe not as good a communication as we could have been having, across jurisdictional boundaries. I look at Glenn County, and I'm a lifelong resident here. It's our home for a lot of us. And we have to remember, as Glenn County, we are about 29,000 people in the whole county. That's not very many people. And we're trying to run a sheriff's department and an Orland PD, and we used to have a Willows PD. And, in 2017, the decision was made, I wasn't on the council at the time, that it made sense at that point in time to share services with the Glenn County Sheriff's Office. There's a lot of economy of scale when you start looking at sharing overhead, administration, facilities, software. There's a lot of benefits to that. And I would say it was a successful transition. But then I always fondly say, in my real job too, that, there's always the people. And, you know, I would say in the public sector and for us sitting up here, sometimes our biggest challenge, my biggest challenge, I'll own it, is really dealing with people. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Everyone's perspective is true for them. So we have to be willing to listen and understand that perspective and then hopefully be heard when it's time to share my perspective. And I just say that to say that as we're, you know, struggling as this contract is, we're in the last year of our contract. And our contract did say that Willows would, in the third year, begin the process of bringing back the Willows Police Department. And we did. The fact of the matter there is it's extraordinarily expensive for the startup costs. If we could wave a magic wand and have all the requirements, right? You know, it's not like we decide in a vacuum what we do. We have the state of California that, you know, there's post and there's facility requirements and there's background checks and there's just all the stuff, right? So not an excuse. But when you start looking at the feasibility study that we did in January of 25 to get an idea of what it would cost to bring it back, and that wasn't even, you know, there were still some soft costs in that. And correct me, I didn't look at it today, but those costs were going to be for startup 3 to 5 million,
Yes.
about 3 to 5 million just for startup. And then you would be able to run your police department. And we had 2.3 million, not even really 2.3 million though, because we have to remember in our contract with the sheriff, we were also paying out of the 2.355 million. We pay for animal control, which is another line item, and we pay for dispatch services. And then there's the remainder of our contract, which was for 1 full-time lieutenant, 1 full-time detective, 1 full-time sergeant, 9 full-time deputies, all the administrative and technical support needed to provide 24/7 law enforcement services to the city of Willows. And really coming in as a late person to the party and reading the contract, and I have some experience in my life dealing with contracts, there was really no, how do we communicate? How do we share information? How do we have input? It was just kind of like, you give us the monthly money and we shall provide you the service. And I would say it's worked. But as time goes on, and Matt hit the nail on the head, expenses continue to go up. And I think the other thing in law enforcement, you know, it got more difficult to retain people. The whole recruitment issue started happening. And I think when I go back to what I started with, we're a county of 29,000 people. We have a county and we have 2 cities. And we kind of start fighting for limited resources, right? Revenue is scarce and we're all trying to do our thing. So I say all that to say it's really important that we work together. The consensus I've come to, and at March, I brought it forward. I said, we need to bring the discussion of bringing back the PD into the open meeting. And I kind of felt thrown under the bus at that March meeting because it was like at the request of council member Pride, here we are. And I'm like, great. But we've done what I call the litmus test, and we have actually authorized the expenditures that it will take to do a Mello-Roos Community Facilities District. Because I know you all hate to hear it, but Matt alluded to it. If we're going to bring back the Willows PD, we have to come up with the startup money somewhere. So we have 2 angles going on. We ideally would be working out an agreement with the Glenn County Sheriff's Office to provide service because it is going to be the most ideally, it's going to be the most cost-effective thing that we can do to provide what we were elected to provide to you, which is public safety and the other things you expect from your community. Personally, I struggle with that because once you have that contract for services, if things go south, which they have for whatever reason, I mean, there can be many, as a city, we have no recourse. You can't just wave the magic wand and have a PD in 3 months. It's probably 18 months to bring back a police department. So somehow we'd even have to be figuring out how to pay for both and pay for startup. And that money, you're borrowing it from somewhere, which means you have debt service. You're doing a parcel tax, which would be thank you, everyone in Willows. You're helping to pay to bring it back. And we all know how we're struggling financially anyway, because everything's more expensive. So bottom line, there are no easy answers. And I have to kind of chuckle when those of you out in Facebook world are like, you know, we need new city council members. I'm tempted to just, you know, call that person up and say, I'll trade you places, right? Because this isn't easy. You know, kind of where I am now, I'm the one that threw out the PD. We're spending a lot of money to go through a process to be able to bring that to a vote. again, we're under the gun. We're talking about, can we pull it off for the general election? And quite frankly, we can't. So we'd be coming out to all of you next spring sometime after spending $125,000 or so to do all the process to do a Melrose district, and then hope that 2/3 of you say yes. And if you don't, we still don't have the money to do a police department. So the question on the table today, and I am not part of mediation, so I have no idea what's being talked about, honestly. We have closed session after this. Maybe I'll find out. Maybe I won't. I don't know who can know what Gary said. And I like what I think it was Mrs. Hoyt said, because I've kind of thought it. I think folks on Facebook had said it. We need to start acting like adults. And I say that, I mean, I've thought a lot. I think a lot. And then honestly, you guys, I pray a lot. What's the right thing to say here? What's honoring of God, and how do we respect each other? And as a community, figure out this problem we have, because it's a problem we all share, right? We're all taxpayers, whether we're in the county or in the city. Some of us are in both. So how do we do that? And, I started thinking, so we are a 5-member council that you elected to serve you guys. We have a sheriff who we elected to provide service to us. We have a board of supervisor member, Jim Yoder, who was elected. He represents the city of Willows. And we were elected and sworn in to do our duty to protect you. And in my mind, that means we should be able to sit down at the table and have a conversation and come to some agreements about working together. When it comes to the money, the 2.355, we have that in our budget. My understanding from staff is that if we went to 3.4, the easy answer is fine, we'll pay 3.4. Matt alluded to it. We could do that for a couple of years. And now we're right back to insolvency. So, so we can only do what we can do. So my heart and my hope is that through mediation, that we can actually sit down and have a conversation as a community, as a county, and figure out, how do we make this work? I don't know this, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not in the negotiations, but I haven't really heard us talk about, if we can't afford 3.4, and I'm just going to guess and go out on a limb that, maybe the sheriff, because recruitment's difficult. Are we having difficulty recruiting to provide those people? I mean, I would get that, right? Could we do with less? I mean, I often say, if we only have this much money and we can only do this much, what's the state of California going to do to us? Are they going to come take us all out of office, throw us in jail? Maybe if they come and they say, well, you were supposed to do it, 10 deputies and all this stuff. And it's like, well, then give us the money to do it. They take a lot of money from us and they don't give it back. I mean, honestly. So with that being said, the topic is private security. I would never vote for this. It's too much money. In my mind, when we brought it up as the last ditch effort, or this is plan D, at the very most, it would be a stopgap measure of a week. Hope, again, we're in court. Who wants to be in court? We don't. But hopefully there would be somebody saying, okay, keep providing service, keep paying them, and continue mediation so we can work out an agreement, a contract that works for everybody. I'm so appreciative, and I want to take the time to say it, of people in the community, and I want to call out Carl Walters. I know nothing about law enforcement. So Carl has spent time with me talking about, how would this look like? What's reasonable? I was just, a gentleman named Chris Shippen reached out to the full council a week or so ago, retired law enforcement from another community, and I met with him and had coffee. And things I hadn't thought about. There are grants that we could be applying for. The COPS grant through DOJ. What he's telling me is the city could apply for that. And this is information I don't think we had. I didn't have it. So we could try to apply for grants that we could help use to fund the sheriff's department. I'm seeing some reactions in the audience from that. So I don't know, but I think we have to get creative, because if we're just looking at our tax base, we don't have enough. I also think it's really important to say that even though we've been at an impasse and unable to come to agreement on our contract, that doesn't mean that we have been displeased with the service that we have gotten. When you folks call 911, the deputies come. When there's a problem, they are there. So this issue isn't about, it's about coming to an agreement on a contract to come up with a monetary amount that's workable for everybody. I have faith that we can get there. But again, I'm so happy that you're all here. It's important that we hear from you. I think there's a lot of information available if you come to the meetings, watch the meetings online. I've said it over and over. If you want to know more, call me, call any of us. I know I'll sit down and have coffee with you. I spent 2.5 hours yesterday with someone from the library board, and that'll be a good conversation to have had in July when we talk about the library issue. So we're available, and we do want, I think we want your input, and we want to hear what you think, because we know what we know up here, right? And if you have ideas and thoughts and you just don't like what we're talking about, you need to come and tell us. And Facebook isn't the best place. It's okay, but don't forget to follow it up with a phone call. I think that's it. I'm a no on
Okay,
the
thank you.
contract. I'm just a no.
You know, I look across the crowd and you're here because you care. And that's very exciting for me. We're only one half of the negotiations. The sheriff needs to come to the table. We're willing to be at the table. And so I would ask you to reach out to the sheriff's department, reach out to the sheriff and share your thoughts. And let him hear, because you represent 6,200 of his constituents. You are 6,200 Glenn County residents. So we need to be able to sit down and have a conversation. We like to sit down and have a conversation with the sheriff and work through what we find problematic with the contract. And so please, we need your help to help us actually come to an agreement so we can sit down with the sheriff. So if you would do that for us. Also, a couple housekeeping matters. We did get a couple letters that I failed to address earlier. One was from Forrest Sprague. He was basically commenting on the various issues with the security services. Most of what was already discussed, not because it's rather lengthy, but it's pretty much, it will be in the public available, but it pretty much covers everything that you guys talked about. Is it on the website?
No, it's a public record.
Public record. Anybody else? Okay. Against my better judgment, I'll go ahead and do this. Honorable Mayor and City Council members, apparently at the request of the ad hoc committee consisting of Councilmember Gary Hansen, Rick Thomas, and City Manager Marty Brown, tonight the entire council will be asked to spend what could add up to $3.12 million annually for temporary law enforcement services. The difference between that law amount and the sheriff's proposal appears to be about $300,000. Now, the reason I didn't necessarily want to go through all of this is because I too am not in favor of private security. So, but he goes through, given the paramount importance of the excellent public service and the costs involved, public deserves clear and complete answers to these questions. May have been overlooked, so identifying the meeting and the request for proposals of these enforcement contracts were agendized, openly discussed, and voted upon by the entire council. That's why it's here on the council tonight for private security. Does the proposed contract offer the same level of service presently provided by the sheriff? For instance, does the short-term contract provide the same level of investigations, evidence collection, records management, report preparation, prisoner transportation, dispatch? And again, all of these things were addressed earlier today, and you've all heard these very same things, and it's the same concerns that the council has. If not, specifically what services will be excluded in the interim from law enforcement contract? If certain services are excluded when the temporary contract, who will provide those services and what will the cost of each level of the additional service? So again, everything that he's been doing that we've been talking about. Will Glenn County taxpayers still continue to absorb the costs associated with providing law enforcement services for city residents not covered under the proposed contracts? What With regard to the private security patrol, who will supervise the personnel and who will ultimately be accountable to the citizens of Willows for their conduct and performance? In the event of emergency, what number should citizens call? I'll tell you this, it's 911. And who will respond? Are the temporary security patrol personnel post certified? No, they're not. Are they authorized and qualified for use of force, including lethal force if necessary in accordance with California law and accepted law standards? Will the temporary personnel have the same authority and abilities presently executed by the sheriff with respect to misdemeanor and felony crimes? If not, what are the distinctions and limitations of the security patrol's authority? For instance, will the security patrolling staff have full arrest authority? What weapons and personal protection equipment will the patrol have? Will they be equipped with body cameras? Will 24-hour comprehensive law enforcement coverage be provided? How many patrol agents will actually be assigned to the city? Who will supply immediate backup for the security patrol confronts an overwhelming emergency? Any of the people arrested by security patrol staff, in what facility will the offenders be detained and at what cost? Please describe what the meeting agenda refers to as drone response. Do the security patrol company and if consulting group carry adequate workers' compensation and general liability insurance? Equally important, do the proposed agreements include a hold harmless and indemnification clause? Has the city's insurance carrier reviewed the contract? If the city's insurance carrier has agreed to the proposal, are there any increases in premium costs? To conclude, the public has a right to know the accumulated costs already incurred for the past studies, consultants evaluating, planning, financing, and legal services, especially the attorney fees and court costs associated with the recent sheriff litigation efforts. For the cost comparison's sake, all Willows property owners deserve to know how the potential property tax obligations associated with the proposed Melrose Community Facility District. I think the citizens of Willows deserve to know whether they are receiving the same level of service, any lesser service, or greater service than they're currently receiving from the sheriff's department. Also received was a letter from Roxanne Reed. The citizens of Willows are counting on you to step up, put an end to the nonsensical proposals regarding public safety. They're saying the city manager and the city council couldn't manage a Taco Bell. And this certainly does not look good to be the case. Personally, I think the city manager is polluting the pool. This is your time to step up and do the right thing. We're counting on you. God bless. We are dedicated to try to provide the best public safety that we can. We've run into some roadblocks. Wish I could discuss more of what those roadblocks are, but our biggest issue is the amounts that they're being charged seem to us to be well in excess of what he's legally entitled to. He's provided a lot of statements, but we submitted public requests and I better shut up. This is getting too far into the weeds. So I will stop there. Pleasure of the council.
I'm Mr. Vice Mayor. I'm opposed to this matter, have been and still am.
Is that a motion?
Oh, I would recommend no motion
No action. No action.
or no action.
No action?
The matter dies for lack of a motion, if that's the case. And I'm not going to move.
Okay.
So I think to be fair, if we're not moving forward with any kind of private security contract, then we do still have a level of uncertainty regarding July 1. And again, I'm not privy at this point to what's going on with mediation. As I expressed earlier, I think it's my hope and my prayer that that mediation is going to come to some agreement that will happen sooner rather than later, but I don't know. So we're just in this place where, I don't know, it's not a happy place to be.
we will continue to do so.
And again, your comments are all appreciated. Your attendance is appreciated. It would be my preference that we saw you every time we have a meeting, every time we have a town hall meeting for the Measure I.
Especially the Measure I Oversight Committee.
Right. And if you can't come, you can watch them. Most of the time, sometimes I've been watching some of our past meetings and sometimes it's hard to hear staff. So just remembering, we try to remember to speak into the microphones. Our meetings are the second and fourth Tuesdays at 6 p.m. We sometimes have special meetings. I would also encourage all of you to regularly check out the city website. There is a lot of information on there that, especially like some Measure I information. The city newsletter you can sign up for, which is that, and Facebook. You know, people always say that, you know, we don't get information out enough. Well, in today's world, that information is online or, you know, Facebook, which we have a page, but going to the website is a great place. Want to handle questions?
Is there any ways that you're negotiating? Can we start smaller with our city, say, you know, 2 cops and then have the sheriff maybe fill in? Can we start smaller so we're not using so much upfront? That's,
you know, Maria, that's, you know, those, I think everything's up for discussion, you know, and I think that part of the discussion we have to continue to have, you know, I was sharing my personal thoughts about the Willows PD, but if we're going to bring it back, you know, there's going to have to be some kind of a transitional model more than likely, but what that looks like. Right.
bigger.
I think part of it is getting all the cars and the equipment and the software and the facility. You know, some of that is just, you're going to have to bite the bullet and figure out how to do that. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think
Oh, you got one more. And Pam hasn't spoken at all. Okay.
additional comments, please come to the microphone.
Just state your name for the record, please.
I'm Pam Ackerman. And one thing that Lori brought up not too long ago was the thought about grants. And I really think there needs to be some form of documentation to have that happen, whether you direct your administrative staff to get a grant writer to get on that. I think that there's monies out there that are available, and I think it's a right way to do business. So I just wanted to make sure that there's notes for that.
Right. And I think, and you've got great contract management, former contract officer for the federal government. But I think as we do that, we still have to have that conversation because the city could write grants, but if we don't have a police force, we don't have any way to utilize them. So if the city's going to do a grant writer and write the grants, we still want an agreement with the sheriff's office because we'd be writing the grants, but deploying them through the law enforcement services unless we've brought back our own law enforcement. So,
and even temporarily, just to get that gap between what you have and what the difference is. I mean, it's really nothing when it comes down to a grant. So
you are
my thoughts.
You're so right.
Is it possible for the two of you, I think you're on the committee, is that correct, for negotiations?
Yes.
Is it possible for you to meet with Sheriff Gibbs to see if he could continue services while you try to come up with a better transition agreement so that you could possibly then transition to hiring a chief and then hiring a lieutenant and then opening it up? I mean, like, avoid the attorneys, avoid the city manager, like you guys sit down and have a conversation to try to make this work for the June 30th deadline. We have a week. I think really if you sat down and had a heart to heart, we're all from Willows. We all have good hearts here. I really think that if you sat down and had that discussion, we could get somewhere.
Thank you.
Is that possible, do you think?
We could ask for that meeting, yes.
I think if you reach out personally, it's possible. Not through attorneys, not through city managers and other people, like personal conversations. Thank you.
Hello, Zach Lopetegui. I'm a resident of the city here. I also work for the sheriff's office, but I'm not here to represent them in case any of you know me. My question is, I know that there's a contract and I know that contracts end. And I know that you all know that. And I know you probably can't comment on it, so I'll just say it. But what's been kind of fed to us here tonight is that the sheriff is obligated to do law enforcement for us after this contract is up, even unless we come to an agreement. I think we're all kind of expecting him to come through for us and just be the law enforcement for the city of Willows. But I don't think he's under any obligation at all whatsoever to provide law enforcement to us. And that's been sold to us residents tonight. So unless you know something different, that's the public comment I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I think we've beat this one up. I'm going to we are the safety committee. Can't be more than 2 council members.
That would confident
We're,
mediation. It's confidential for Bill.
we're,
Please finish my statement. We are in a formal mediation and those discussions are confidential to state law. I can't disclose that. You can go ask the county if they wish to disclose.
Marlene, our city attorney is absolutely 100% dead on correct. Those are my comments earlier. With mediation, it's confidential. We are not allowed to share any information in reference to mediation. We're not allowed by law. Period. And that's the law. And yeah. So
well,
I didn't hear the question.
I didn't hear the question either.
Sorry.
Okay. I'm going to bring this to a close. I'm going to call for a 5-minute break for the council. So those who wish to stay can do what they necessarily need to do, like I need to do.
Is Jessica Tapia still in the room?
No, she left.
I have another document for her. So, okay, thank you. Again, okay, thanks.
State the time.
Oh, I'm going to adjourn at 8:10. We'll return at 8:20. It is now 8:20 and we're going to return to open session. Moving on to item 7, public hearing. Fiscal year 25-29 5-year capital improvement program. All matters in this section of the agenda are formal public hearings and will be acted upon individually. Individuals wishing to speak on these items were asked to complete a speaker's card and submit it to the city clerk. Comments should be directed to the mayor and the council members, limited to 3 minutes. If you have any documentation you'd like distributed to the council, please give it to the city clerk for distribution. 7A, 25-29 5-year capital improvement program. Recommended action, conduct a public hearing and improve the attached resolution adopting the 5-year capital improvement program CIP for 2025 to 2029. Mr. Betancourt.
Go ahead. Oh, it's actually going to be me. I'm Lori Loaiza, I'm city engineer.
Okay.
And as you said, this is about the CIP. As you might recall, this item was before you at the February 24th, 2026 council meeting. We did the first presentation of it. And at that time, council asked for several changes. So here's the things that have changed since that CIP in February. Inclusion of the new City of Willows Police Station as a separate capital project. Update and clarify Fire 2, 4, and differential 06. The revised budget and scope have been coordinated with the fire chief as requested. Projects that were not fully completed in the fiscal year 25-26 have now been moved to 26-27 for clarity. Green Street, Eureka Street pavement project was updated to match the current estimated coordinated with Glenn County. And the sanitary sewer CIP has been fully coordinated with the rate study. Tonight is the final version of the CIP, and we are conducting a required public hearing on the document. Now, I can talk more, but I think given the length of the meeting, maybe I'll just go ahead and just leave it there, and I'll let you guys answer any questions you may have on the CIP, and I'll be prepared to answer.
Thank you. Any members of the council have any comments or questions?
I do.
Right.
So I was just going because I did kind of compare the CIP to the sewer rate study. And I think well, let me start first. I think look like there's some duplicates. If you look at page 50 and page 51, it looked like there were some duplicates on page 51 of the development impact fees for streets, development impact fees, freeway interchange, library. They're also on one of the other pages. So maybe I'm missing something, but I just thought I'd point that out so you could look at that and just see if there's a few extra boxes in there. But I was comparing, so I went back and grabbed the sewer rate study, which from what I could tell, that didn't change from the first time it was presented to the second time. And it showed in the sewer rate study, it was based off the 5-year capital improvement program with proposed modifications. And it just shows total sewer projects for fiscal 26 until 31 of 7.782 million, roughly. But when I look at the sewer fund, and or the CIP, I'm sorry, I was just trying to reconcile the sewer expenses, and I was coming up with 11 million in projects and 13 million in projects. And I couldn't figure out why I wasn't getting the same numbers. So for example, on page 60 of the CIP of the packet tonight for the CIP under the sewer, if you look at the total projects, it's 13, but that's still including 25. I think I took that out and it was 11. And then the rate study has 7. Just the numbers were different. And I was spending time today trying to figure it out. So I didn't know what I was missing.
I think that's
That's the 29. So basically the sewer rate study only covers 5 years. And I think there's also one other thing, with the pond liners. So basically for the sewer rate study, those are things that we're planning to pay for and move forward. And there's a thing with the wastewater treatment ponds that we're not sure we're going to have to do as much as what's shown in the capital improvement plan. And so we put a number in there until we work out with the state exactly what the scope is. In fact, I had a good meeting today. So those are the
okay, because the numbers in the sewer rate study for the pond liners in fiscal 27-28 was 850, but in the CIP it's $1,025,000. And then in fiscal 28-29 it was 600,000, and it's 1.125.
Yeah,
in
so
the CIP.
the total pond liner in the CIP document that's before you today is 3.639 million, right? That's what we're seeing over the course of those years.
Honestly, by the time I bounce around through 1 million pages in
No,
the
no,
CIP,
you're fine. So I
very
think
lost.
the sewer CIP itself. So for the sewer rate study, we included, I believe, approximately $1.4 million in that. With the unknown of what we're going to need to do to fix those sludge pond liners, we did not want to fully burden taxpayers through the sewer rate study, not knowing what that would be. Now, through our capital improvement project plan here, we wanted to load up what our worst case scenario would be.
Okay.
Yeah. So we didn't want to put that in the rate study and raise rates when we could end up at an intermediate pace. And we have the ability to move some of those sewer rate capital programs around if we hit that worst case scenario.
Okay. So essentially, to recap in my language, we're conservative in our rate study and we're planning it on the higher, more expensive end in the CIP.
Correct.
Okay. And then the only other thing I kind of noticed, and it might have been, I don't remember which of the documents now, but it just showed revenue being the same every year. And I don't know if that's because their new rate study hasn't passed under the revenues. I didn't know if that was because the new rate study hasn't passed. So that's based on our current sewer assessment.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
that reflects the rate on the current rate study that we've done. That will get updated next year once that is fully in place.
Okay. And so in general, and I'm kind of correlating the CIP with the sewer rate study because there's a lot of nexus there. We had talked about, we're trying to get most of our capital improvement projects done in the next 5 years for the sewer assessment. So really looking in the next 5 years, barring any new unforeseen problems, a lot of our capital catch-up work over 100-year-old sewer system is going to be largely caught up. But we'll still have some of this overflow, these higher estimates kind of carrying over.
So the goal would be to keep the same or lower. So we want to continue the capital improvement projects, but that would keep the rate at the same rate. If we took all of them out and were able to complete them, then that rate would lower. So the goal would be to eventually get to that point. But no, we do have a lot of sewer lines that will be in the next capital improvement projects, but we don't want to raise above that $7 million bar. And things like the back truck replacement would come off, right? Because we don't need a new one every 5 years. So some things will come off, but the sewer line replacement, we kind of want to keep this threshold, be able to, if we do, get our back truck in 5 years, then maybe we move that fund and keep the rate the same and replace more line at a quicker pace.
Thank you. I think that was for right now. I'll look if I have any more.
Okay.
That was the main one.
Anything else from the announcement?
I think it's just called out. It's something, the subject matter of tonight. In the capital improvement plans, when we were talking about this, it looks like a new police station is about $8.8 million is what we're looking at here.
That's a very approximate fund.
Right.
I just knew that we needed to put something in there, and obviously the actual cost of it will bear once you guys completed the studies.
Correct. But we're moving that direction, and it's
Precisely,
a lot of money.
It's a placeholders because that way we have to have some kind of aim.
Yeah. That's all I had.
Yeah, Mr. Vice Mayor, thank you. Thank you, Lori, for the report, for the information. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, we had the previous discussion on the capital improvement plan. I'm in agreement with it as presented, as we did have extensive discussions on this. And just a reminder for the audience, the capital improvement plan, or CIP, is a living document. It's flexible. It's a roadmap. So the first year is the capital budget. Those are the items that Lori mentioned earlier that they're the priority items, prioritized, need to be done. There's a lot of deferred maintenance in the city, as you heard earlier, over the years. So we're getting those things squared away. So my only question was about the security fencing improvement at the city corporation yard for $15,000. Yeah, we've been talking about that for like 3 years now. We're finally going to pull the switch. It is in the capital budget, right? We're finally going to get that done, I hope, like real soon.
So me and Lori actually had a discussion on including this or not. With financial constraints previously, we've been unable to kind of allocate those funds to it. But yeah, the plan is to hopefully our public works budget is good. We didn't place it in this year's budget due to other things being a priority and figuring out maybe stuff that was discussed earlier.
Right.
But the goal would be to look at our budget at mid-year and be able to allocate that $15,000 for that public works fencing.
Right.
So yes, that's
I understand, Joe. No, there are always financial issues and pressures and obligations, and things break all the time. So, and critical infrastructure breaks. So no, I'm just really glad to see that finally bumped up to the capital budget. It's much needed. So that's all I had, Mr. Vice Mayor. Thank you. Thanks, Lori. Thanks, Joe.
Well, with that, I will open a public hearing and to receive input at 8:30. Anybody wishing to speak on a capital improvement program? Has there been adequate time and opportunity for the public to be heard? I close the public hearing at 8:31. Are there any other comments or questions from the board?
I have none, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Then pleasure of the council.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I move to approve the resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council, the City of Willows approving the 5-year capital improvement program fiscal years 2025, 2029 be adopted."
I have a motion to approve the resolution. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. This would be a roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Thomas,
Yes.
Councilmember Hanson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pride. Yes. Councilmember Busby.
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving along. The next item is Landscaping and Lighting Special Assessment District authorization to levy assessments. Recommended action, conduct a required public protest hearing and consider attached resolution approving engineer's report as filed. Again, Joe Betancourt, or do we hear from our city engineer?
Also me. So the State Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972 requires annual reporting whenever assessments are to be levied and collected. This takes place usually over the course of 3 city council hearings. The first one, appointing an engineer of work and directing the annual engineer's report, was completed on February 24th, 2026. Second action, receiving the preliminary engineer's report and setting the date of the required public protest hearing, was complete on April 28th, 2026. The third and final step is tonight, which is to conduct the public protest hearing, approve the engineer's report as presented or as amended, and authorize a levy of assessments for fiscal year 2026, 2027. And I can give you some background on the landscape and lighting districts if you guys are interested.
Comments from the council?
I just, when it came before us before, I had pointed out to staff, the city manager, that there were some addresses that were incorrect, or names on the things. And there's still, I double checked them tonight. So I think the main one, there's a wrong address associated with an APN. And there are just a couple of address changes or property owner changes. And I don't know if that matters, if it's just a property owner name change. And the reason this catches my eye is because I sell real estate. And when I look at the list, I'm like, oh, well, they sold their house 3 years ago. They don't live there anymore. So it's the only reason I noticed. And then when I noticed, I just check.
Absolutely. And all documents were checked through the assessor's office, but we will definitely go back, Councilmember Pride, and we can look at that. And
I'll give you my notes
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yep, absolutely. And we can, if amenable, approve with those modifications if need be. We did double check them, but I'm not an assessor person. So that was other staff that did that. So we can definitely verify that those are correct.
I have a handy dandy. I can click on the map and it brings up the tax record. And so I can check it pretty quickly. But I'm going to set these aside, Joe. So you can grab them
Absolutely.
after. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments from the board? Council?
Yeah, Mr. Vice Mayor, just real quickly, thanks again, Lori. It's always good news when there are assessment reductions, as in Zone A, Birch Street Village, and Zone C. So that's always good news. Just wanted to point that out. We try the best we can. So I'm glad the reserves are healthy enough to lower those assessments for the year. So significant too for the audience here. In Zone A, Birch Street Village, the assessments were decreased $188.22 per parcel this year, and Zone C decreased by $3,485 per parcel. So anyway, good news. Thank you. Thanks, Lori. Good report. Good job. Thank you.
So I will open a public hearing at 8:35 for a public protest, if any, on the landscape and lighting district special assessment. Anybody from the public? Hearing none, everyone had an adequate opportunity to speak. Hereby close public hearing at 8:36. Further comments of the council?
Nothing, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Pleasure of the council.
I would move that we, hold on, let me get what I need to look at. Is there a resolution that we're adopting?
Yes.
All right. Somebody's quicker than me. Go for it. I got to find it.
Go, Lori.
Oh, here we go. I would move that we approve resolution next in line, a resolution approving the annual engineer's report, confirming the assessment diagram and the annual assessment amounts, and authorizing the levy and collection of assessments for fiscal year 26-27 for the City of Willows Landscaping and Lighting Assessment District pursuant to the Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. This will be a roll call vote.
Councilmember Pratt? Aye. Councilmember Busby?
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson?
Aye.
And Vice Mayor Thomas.
Aye.
Motion passes.
It's approved. Next item is 7C, adoption of a cannabis business tax ordinance and election resolution. Recommended action, conduct a public hearing and adopt by title only and waive the second reading of the text of the ordinance entitled An Ordinance of the City of Willows, California, adding Chapter 3.12 Cannabis Business Tax to Title III of the Willows Municipal Code, establishing a tax on cannabis business activities within the city. Subject to voter approval at the November 3rd, 2026 general municipal election, and adopt a resolution establishing November 3rd, 2026 as the date the general election on a proposed ballot measure seeking voter approval of a general business tax on cannabis businesses operating in the City of Willows. Marty Brown.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and council members. This item, this is now the third time that you've seen this item. It was first presented at the May 26th council meeting as a presentation with our consultant from HDL. We went through that ordinance in quite a bit of detail. After considerable discussion amongst the council, the only change that was really made to the ordinance was to allow a little more flexibility for the finance director in terms of billing. If this was approved by the voters, and how the collection of tax would occur, and leaving some discretion there, monthly versus quarterly, for example. That ended up being the only substantive change after that presentation. On June 9th, it came forward. The ordinance is a first reading only, by title only on the consent calendar. And now it's back here for the third time for the public hearing. The only change, other than the ordinance, which I just mentioned, the only addition to this item is the resolution establishing the November 3rd, 26 as the date for the general election on the proposed ballot measure and seeking voter approval. And that's an addition from the June 9th meeting and or May 26th meeting. So we need that approval to move forward with putting that on the ballot for November. That concludes my presentation, unless you have some additional questions for me, because this is the third time you're seeing it.
Comments from the council?
Broken record. We have a revenue problem. I ask everybody to vote yes when you see this on the ballot. It's up to 10% at future council's discretion as to what that taxable level is for all businesses in the city. We need the money. Vote yes.
And the dispensaries are already here.
Any other comments from the council?
Yeah, Mr. Vice Mayor, I echo Councilmember Busby's comments. This only pertains to the two dispensaries. One of them is open, the other's to open soon. That's it. It is revenue, and every municipality does this. So, but anyway, the resolution, or the ordinance and the resolution and the documents, all very well crafted. Thank you. Nice work. That's all I had. Thank you.
So the only question I have is, when it's actually on the ballot, is it going to talk about the range of the tax? Because I know in the packet it says that it's anticipated that the council may wish to set the initial rate at 5%. And we had talked, I thought, about higher. So I just didn't know, is when it's on the ballot, are people seeing what the initial rate is, or are they just seeing a range and we'll set it at a later time?
No, the ballot language is actually in the resolution, exactly as
That's
it
what
will
I
be,
was.
as it will appear, stating it's up to 10%.
Thank you. I didn't have as much time to read my whole packet this time. Thank you.
Okay, so I will open a public hearing on establishing a ordinance for the City of Willows, adding Chapter 313 of the Cannabis Business License to Title III of Willows Municipal Code. Do we have any comments on the cannabis ordinance? By the way, I opened that at 8:40. As there has been adequate time and opportunity for the public to be heard, I close the public hearing for further comment at 8:41. Pleasure of the council.
Mr. Mayor, move that the resolution titled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Willows establishing November 3rd, 2026 as the date for a general election on a proposed ballot measure seeking voter approval of a general business tax on cannabis businesses operating in the City of Willows be adopted."
Seconded.
Have a motion and a second on the resolution. This will be a roll call vote.
Councilmember Hanson,
Aye.
Councilmember Busby,
Aye.
Councilmember Pride,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Thomas.
Aye. Okay. Discussion and action calendar. We have already addressed the library municipal being continued to July. We've already addressed the private security. We'll move to council correspondence. Yes, Mr. Ross. Okay, on the library of the Willows Municipal Code, amending chapter 2.7, that item was continued until the July 18th meeting. 14th, excuse me. That item died for a lack of motion. Yes. So council comment or correspondence, I received a couple emails which were addressed earlier in the agenda. Does anybody else have any council correspondence?
I received the same emails.
I did as well, Mr. Vice Mayor.
I did too.
Council comments and reports. You want to start, Lori?
Yeah, just there's been a lot of Facebook activity about the park grant, and I'd asked some questions and hadn't gotten a response because of busy schedules. So just curious if we've gotten the approval from the state to rebid that project.
We have not.
So can we get an update possibly on what is that going to impact our ability to perform under that grant?
No, not that I'm aware of at this time. No, we continue to check in with them every single week to try to figure out what's happening with the grant and what the status is and when we can anticipate hearing one way or the other if it's going to be approved, the amendment. So far, we have not gotten green light to move forward with going out to bid and construction. So we don't anticipate there to be an impact on our ability to finish the project. It's just unfortunately taking a lot longer than anticipated because bids, as you know, came in much higher than the budget that we had available.
Correct. So again, what's been on, have you guys seen what's on Facebook regarding the park grant?
No.
You know, essentially, people are, and that's why I was just trying to truth it a little bit. They're researching the Caltrans grant and the full performance, meaning every project done, they're saying it has to be done by December 30th. And the rest of the time period we have is just contract closeout. So my concern when I found out on June 5th, when I had a meeting with city manager, that we hadn't, we agreed to let's rebid the project so we can package it into components, but the state has not approved that. So if they don't, where does that leave us? Is there a possibility that they'll say no?
There's always a possibility, but so far we haven't gotten an indication that that's where they're headed.
Have we gotten any indication that they've received our request? We keep following up. What's the holdup? I guess I'm just curious.
The person that we contact says she'll go check with the team that is in charge of the approval process. And then she gets back and says, they're not done, they haven't completed their approval and, basically we'll get it to you soon. That's what we've gotten. So.
Okay. So this has been at least a month and a half or 2 months. All right. I was telling people, we rebidding it, it's going to be a thing. And then all of a sudden it's like, we don't even have approval. And I'm a little concerned that, what does that mean for us if we're run into a big obstacle with this grant? It's going to be a very bad
We'll know
thing.
until we're there, honestly. If they don't approve it, obviously that would be, a huge setback. If they do approve it, I can't tell you right now because I don't know when, if it'll have an impact on construction and the bid process.
Just was wondering if there's any leverage, if a mayor of a city or something can call and just try and kick something loose, just so we're not waiting indefinitely for an answer.
Certainly somebody on the council could try that. I've gotten myself involved twice now with state and asked, implored them, could you please, as soon as possible, we're worried about construction costs increasing and also being able to deliver the project in a timely manner that is in compliance with all the grants and different funding sources we have. And it keeps sounding like soon.
So we've already have we gotten at least one extension on this grant?
Yes, I believe we have.
Is there possibilities for additional extensions?
There may be, we haven't checked with them on that yet. My understanding, I think, is we have until December of 2027, but we can confirm that.
No, I think September of 27 was the last deadline I'd heard, but that was for full closeout. So anyway, I'd ask the question, and I think it's important that we pay close attention to that, because if we lose this grant, you will have quadruple the number of people here. And they're already not happy about the delays, so it's not a good situation at all. I think that's
Busby.
it.
Nope, nothing to report, sir.
Mr. Hanson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Yeah, thank you for that information, Lori. It's unfortunate here we are once again waiting on the state of California. So yeah, boy, hope it works out well. Anyway, yeah, very quickly, several meetings on Tuesday, June 9th. We had our monthly regular Glen Groundwater Authority board meeting. A major item of discussion was the approval of the annual budget, which was approved. That following Friday, June 12th, we had our monthly joint special meeting with the Colusa, our sister agency, the Colusa Groundwater Authority and the Glen Groundwater Authority. We alternate locations between Willows and Colusa. That meeting was held in Colusa as we continued to work on the GSPR Groundwater Sustainability Plan and specifically demand management of that section of the GSP. Very critical. We're on time schedule to complete that by the end of the year. Last year, as you know, I reported at every meeting we're on a time schedule to approve the domestic well mitigation by the end of last year, and we did that. So we're working on this, and we're going full speed on it. So and we're getting there and making good progress, and we'll land on our time schedule. I'm very confident of that. Thursday, June 18th, we had our monthly Glen County Regional Transit Committee and Glen County Transportation Commission meetings here in Willows this month. And the major item of discussion were the annual budgets for both bodies, which were approved. Other routine business was also handled. And I believe, Mr. Vice Mayor, that's all I've got. Thank you.
The question about the transit.
Yes.
Authority. Of course, Highway 162 Wood Street has been postponed yet again.
Yet again, yes.
Do we have anything on the books with the Caltrans with regard to the secondary off-ramp and on-ramp?
No.
To Highway I-5?
Not yet. No.
Because I know it's going to take about a 20-year window before we could do that. And I think an off-ramp at 48 ultimately is a smart way to get people off, lighten the traffic load on the Wood Street Bridge, bring people down towards Walmart on the other side, have them exit out towards 57, and also gain access on I-5 going up 48.
Yeah.
I think that would open up all of that side on the east side or the west side of I-5 for commercial development, something that the city desperately needs. And if we could pre-position that, but we need to start talking about that now. So I would encourage us to try to get that on their calendar.
Would that be us or the county though? Because that's in the county.
Yeah, it'd be a joint city-county discussion, and that is 100% wholly with
Part of that is,
County.
yeah.
Yeah.
48's county.
county
and-
jurisdiction.
Mhm.
But
But it would be
I
a
think
city-county
it's
discussion.
critical mass for the future growth
Mhm.
of commercial and industrial.
Mhm.
Because if you're coming down I-5 and you got the Walmart, so they're going to be coming off of Walmart, then you have all that opportunity along north of Walmart at that off-ramp to develop into commercial opportunity, restaurants and the rest of that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Oh,
So then
completely.
we'd want to talk about annexation and that would become a LAFCO because that's
Mhm.
all county.
That would ultimately be what would have to happen,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
but I know if we don't start talking about trying to get an off-ramp there now,
Right.
it'll be 20,
So definitely a regional transit
2060 before we
conversation.
actually get there.
Yep, joint effort.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it all have. Would all have to be, you would all have to be developed consistent with an off-ramp and primary access collector street. So it'd have to be a brand new, the street would have to be rebuilt. Both north and south. Yeah.
I believe that would be beyond the jurisdiction of the city, if I'm not correct. Is that within the city limits or is that, okay, so that
But
would
don't
be
you sit with the county on that,
the city.
Gary?
I'm sorry.
Don't you sit on the county or the transportation county sits?
Wheeling County Transportation Commission. Yes, absolutely.
Sell it to Marty Thomas.
Right. I will bring that up. Yes, we'll start that ball rolling. I will do this next meeting. Rick, I'm happy to do so. It'd be a joint city-county venture, obviously, with complete reconstruction. Yeah.
I have no comment or report, so I will look to Marty Brown for her city manager's report.
I have no report this evening.
Okay, having completed that, we will move to item 10, closed session. Prior to the city council convening into closed session, the public will have an opportunity to address the council regarding the item listed below pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.3. Public comments are generally restricted to 3 minutes. Conference with legal counsel, initiation of litigation 54956.9, sub D, sub 4, one case. Close the public hearing or the public meeting at 9:53. 8:53.
Late, it ain't that late.
Good evening. It is now 10 at 9:54, returning from closed session. You have a report out for us, or do you want me to do it?
No, I can do it. Under closed session, conference with legal counsel, the council met, was provided information by the attorney's office and on the current litigation.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned at 10:55. 9:55.